wins his final game with a walk-off single.
Bases loaded. 2 out. Hard hit into right. Back at the wall. Tie game. At the wall, a leap and a catch. Andy Chavez takes a home run away and turns it into a.
All right, welcome to the Ball Club. I'm your host, Joey, here with my co-host, Harry and Austin. Got a lot to talk about today. Wild card race is still going on. General news, Dodgers, Astros, Mets, and Yankees all clinched the playoffs. Snap to them. And then our guy, snap it up. Yeah, snap it up.
Yeah.
Pujols hit 700, hit 2 against the Dodgers the other day, so good for him. Snaps.
Let's give snaps up for him.
Snaps for Pujols.
Let's give more than snaps for Pujols. Let's give a clap for Pujols.
Yeah, let's give him a little. Let's give him some.
What a
love.
legend.
He deserves it.
What a legend.
Great guy. But NL East is still up for grabs. So let's lead off with that. Harry, that's kind of your realm if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, man. So the Mets 7-3 or 7-4 now in their last 11. So they kind of bounced back a little bit, but they got hosed last night by yesterday by the Athletics, which is not a great sign. But they're still 1.5 games up on the Braves, who have not been playing their best baseball. What everybody's looking forward to is going to be just the biggest series of the year, I think, in the NL and in the NL East at least, and you know perhaps in the entire league. Mets Braves, Mets in Atlanta this coming weekend. I think it starts on the 30th, so that starts on I think Thursday or Friday.
And that's the last series of the season for them, right?
No, they got Marlins coming up. So both of them have the Marlins and Nationals kind of surrounding. I forget who has which first, but they both have the Marlins and Nationals still, and then they have their series against each other. So it's literally like just the perfect storm. It's gonna. So
their series is the last series of the season.
Mets Braves is not the last series.
Okay,
no, they have one more. They have one more after.
Okay,
yeah,
that's gonna be big though.
Yeah, that's gonna be the season. I think they're gonna. They got to win today. The Mets. They got to keep winning series against, I think the Marlins and Nationals. They got to win those series. And then I think as long as they win one against the Braves in Atlanta, they should be able to hold it. But, it's easier said than done. So.
Right. And the Braves are in literally like the same exact boat. So.
Yeah, the Braves have been playing. The Braves have been playing bad too. So
they got swept by the Phils.
Yeah, they got swept by the Phils. They got smoked by them after the Phillies were just playing like the worst baseball I think we've seen them play since before the All-Star break. So,
all right. I have a question I want to ask you. So the Mets are in a position where they are either in the full-on playoffs or they're in the wild card. And I want to know right now, based on DeGrom's recent starts against the Cubs, he gave up 3 in 6 innings. Against the Pirates, he gave up 5 in 3 innings. And then last night in Oakland, he went 4, gave up 5 innings. I don't worry about DeGrom like he's the best pitcher in baseball, but right now, if you were to go into a wild card game or game 1 of the playoffs, are you starting DeGrom or Scherzer?
DeGrom, 100%, not even a question. I think
not even a question.
Really? Not even a question. He's throwing a lot of stuff that he's not used to throwing. I think he's working on some stuff against these teams, and that's throwing him off. I guarantee that if he goes into a big game, he steps up and he shuts out. He shoves. So I'm not really worried about him at all.
Austin, how do you feel about that?
I think right now, just based off the fact that DeGrom's only pitched a few games this year, I still feel like it's crazy to think that I still think he's loosening up. I don't think he's reached his peak yet. Yeah. I'd probably go with Scherzer. I just like that dog that Scherzer's gotten him. I feel like Scherzer's he's the psychopathic type of game 1, go out and kill him type of pitcher. DeGrom has that too, but he's more of like a smooth operator. I like Scherzer. I think I'm taking Scherzer.
That's fair. Let me just say long term though, I think it's just better for the team if they go DeGrom.
Yeah,
he's their guy because it's impressions, right? It's like it's one of those things like a lot of the time when a closer is struggling going into the playoffs, a lot of the time they want to say, well, should we even have him closing out games? Like I remember when the Red Sox had their World Series run that year when they had Sale coming out of the bullpen to close the World Series out, and there was a lot of controversy of why didn't they send Kimbrel out. It's one of those things where it's like, well, who's your guy? You kind of like make that stamp of approval on who's your guy when you have a wild card game and you need to win it, and you got 2 stud aces that are going to be Hall of Famers. You really can't go wrong either way.
Right.
They probably go to DeGrom because he's been their guy for so long, but you can't go wrong. I just like Scherzer. I like his mentality.
I think long term you got to go DeGrom.
But they don't have. Yeah. They don't have, but wait, Joey, real quick. They don't have it's not one wild card game anymore. So like they would both.
Yeah, it's true. It's a series.
It's a best of 3, right?
Right.
Yeah. It's best of 3 anyway. But
playoffs are throwing off this year.
Yeah.
So
I like that they changed that over, by the way.
Yeah, me too. The Mets
No, I
got
like that
fucked
too.
by that too, like a few years ago. So
I just so DeGrom, he should be lined up for one more start or maybe two.
I think just one. Could be
probably
wrong,
just probably.
Well,
it
wait, they got
depends.
yeah, it
No,
depends.
they got what 10 games left. Let me look.
Yeah,
at
so
the
he should
standings.
maybe
He
two.
might go 2, but it depends. If they don't need him, they won't throw him.
I don't know. My take on it would be I'd see how his next start goes, and if he gets shellacked again, then I'd probably go Scherzer. But if he shows up and is the Jacob DeGrom we all know and love, then yeah, you got to throw DeGrom out there. But I think he might be slated for. I know he's got one at least, but he might have a second coming up.
So it was about DeGrom then that you're controversial.
No, I have something else I'm going to hit you with.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's going to be in the AL Central, which I want to get into. Unless you got more Mets.
Nah,
or
man,
Braves.
Nah. That's enough. I don't want to talk about the Mets anymore.
All
It's
right.
too early.
I
on the
mean, I always love
subject.
talking about my Braves, but that's like our two teams on this show right now because it's all the drama. But with the AL Central, Austin, you got anything over there?
Yeah, I was so wrong about the AL Central. I'll be the first to admit it. I didn't want to admit it, but I really thought the White Sox had a chance to bring it back, but they haven't been the best team in this division all year. It's been the Guardians. The Guardians have been tried and true. I didn't trust in that lineup, but that offense has been good, man. It seems like all their guys are hitting right now. They got a bunch of like average guys. I really like Ahmed Rosario. I think Andres Jimenez is like one of the stories of the year, and Steven Kwan just keeps on hitting. And then Joe Ram is just in the middle of that lineup, just hitting the ball.
Potential MVP candidate.
Potential MVP candidate. He's not going to be, but I mean, he's been so good. He's him and Rafi Devers, two best bats in the AL for third base. So, and their pitching, man, is just really, really good. Bieber's really good. McKenzie's been great. I don't like him in the playoffs. I don't think that they're going to do anything in the playoffs, but man, I couldn't have been any more wrong on this team going into these last few games.
Think about it though, like that
Sox,
game one. That game one, do you really want to face that lineup and Bieber? That's a tough game right there.
Right. And Bieber is just he's so crafty. Nothing's gonna overpower you, but he's gonna come in there and just dot corners, throw changeups. They get into their bullpen. They got some guys that throw absolute heat. So I don't know. They might be a sneaky dangerous team. Again, I don't see them doing anything in the playoffs, but that lineup is really consistent. They got a lot of like contact guys. They don't strike out, they grind out at bats. They're a team that I don't think you really want to see, but I don't see them doing anything. Personally.
So this is subject to change because I know we already did like our wild card predictions, which have already changed since we've done them. But right now they're slated to face Seattle. Do you like them against Seattle if that's who they go against?
I don't know. That's one that I just don't know. I really like Seattle. I want to say that I would take Seattle, not just because
I like Seattle
wearing a Seattle hat right now, but I like Seattle just because I think that their lineup has more upside, and I think that with Castillo at the top, I think I almost favor Castillo right now with how hot he's been over Bieber.
Let's actually. Do you guys want to just jump to Castillo real fast, and then we'll just close out with the East? I know I have it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Seattle extended Luis Castillo. He's 29 years old. They gave him a 5-year, $108 million deal. There's a max out at $133 million if they do the 6-year vesting option. And then I really like this addition for Seattle that they threw in, that if Castillo has any kind of Tommy John issues from 2025 to 2027, the Mariners receive a $5 million option for 2028. So it kind of like saves them a little bit of money if he gets Tommy John. But I think that was a great deal. Like Seattle's looking smarter. They did the Julio Rodriguez deal. They did this. That's a great deal to lock him up for 5 years. He's an ace. He's one of the best pitchers in the game right now. I think that was great.
Yeah, that's a steal because right now market value for a starting pitcher is in the 200s. So, I mean,
yeah,
not for a starting pitcher, but for an ace, I think he enjoys it because I mean he's been in Cincinnati, which has been a dumpster fire for a while. So,
right,
Seattle seems to be an upcoming team. They seem to be like a really smart organization. They're kind of built from that same mold that we always talk about with the Braves, signing their young guys at good contracts. They seem to be all in. They went all in this year when they went out and made that big trade with the Reds and got Eugenio and Winker. Not exactly worked out as far as the Jesse Winker side, but it does show that it's an organization that's committed to winning right now, and they get a great deal in with Castillo. So, yeah, I love it. I think it's a great deal.
Like that deal
he's a dog up there. They went out and got Robbie Ray last year. I like what they're doing out in Seattle.
Yeah, so if you imagine their playoff rotation real quick, going against Castillo, Robbie Ray, and then Logan Gilbert. And then if you go to a fourth game, George Kirby's an option, and they have Flexen, who's been good this year, but their bullpen is also the best in the game too. So that's a tough ask for any team.
I'm team Matt Brash. So I bought into the hype with that guy at the start of the year. I'll tell you that. I still think he'll be good, but got some of the nasty stuff in the game. what an upcoming team. Who wants to face that lineup, and who wants to face that
rotation?
So no one, especially not the Yankees. They don't match up well against them at all.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Harry, you're kind of the contract guy. You like that? What do you think of that deal?
Yeah, I think that's it's a great deal for them to lock him up. I think it's a great move to make before the playoffs. I think it shows that, they're kind of locked in on this guy as their guy, right? And it's not that expensive when you look at some of the other deals. Obviously the Mets with Scherzer 1 year, $40 million. This one had an annual average of about 25 million, right? What is it? 108 for 5 years, right?
Yeah,
so it's like not even 20.
But...
Yeah, if you want to go 130 for 6, but either way, it's like 20 mil a year, right? Not even 25. So
it's a really good deal.
I think that's a really good deal for a guy that's under 3 ERA and under a 4 for most of his career, even dating back to his rookie days. But yeah,
what he is.
Yeah, you know what you're gonna get.
You know what you're getting. You're not getting a guy that's going to be, the best pitcher in baseball at any point, probably. But he's probably going to be good enough to get it, make a couple all-star appearances. Hopefully all in all the years that he's there. But yeah. But as far as who I got the Guardians over the Mariners. I think.
Oh, hot take.
I don't think that's that hot of a take.
No, I mean their offense is really good right now.
I think Austin just did a great job of covering why the Guardians are the best team in their division, and they've been playing, I think, the best baseball, at least since we last recorded last week, right? So
they're both playing really good baseball as of late. So that's kind of like you got 2 hot teams going to the playoffs. I really like that series. It's definitely a series to watch.
You can't put into like words just how important depth is in the playoffs, and the Guardians are just a really deep team. That lineup is they just grind at bats. They wear down starting pitchers. I don't see guys.
And they don't strike out.
They don't strike out.
Strikeout guys.
They got a ton of guys that they're not all hitting 310, but a lot of their guys are hitting 280, 290, 300. They don't have a lot of guys in their lineup that's a 189 Joey Gallo type in their lineup. They don't buy into that out there in Cleveland. So, and what a deal that they got with Jimenez, man.
Yeah,
I'm actually going to talk about that real quick.
Flipping trades to go get him, it's just ridiculous. Those guys are just playing so well.
Real quick on Jimenez. So before I get to him, if the Guardians win tonight, so we're recording Sunday the 25th, or super early in the morning. So if the Guardians win tonight, they clinch. If the White Sox lose tonight, they clinch. So they're going to clinch. They're going to make it. I think they have it locked up for that wild card spot.
They're up 9 games. So
there's no shot. So with Jimenez, I wanted to ask you, Harry, as a Met fan, how do you feel about the Lindor deal overall? And if you can go back, seeing what Rosario and Jimenez have given the Guardians this year, do you do that deal again?
Yeah, I think that it's not even a question. I think that Lindor's been the best shortstop from a fielding perspective in the league this year. And I think what he's been doing for the Mets from a batting standpoint has been awesome. I understand that there's other guys that have been doing similar things from a batting standpoint that are on the Guardians that the Guardians got for a better deal, right? But what you're getting from Lindor is a guy that's going to be doing this for the next 10 years. You can't guarantee that. Like, I don't think you could guarantee that with Jimenez or Ramirez or any of these guys. So I don't know. I really don't. Have no regrets. When you're a team that has the money to spend like the Mets do, you spend the money. When you're a team that doesn't have the money to spend like the Guardians, you don't. Like that's just the way baseball is, and that's how it's got to be. That's how organizations got to be run. Like it doesn't mean that because this one guy had a really good year on a really good contract. We talked about Brandon Marsh last week, right? And how much better he's playing than Juan Soto. And like, I think we do this way too often where it's like, we kind of look at recency bias and we think, how could why would we pay this guy when we could just do this Moneyball athletics thing from, Billy Beane back in the early 2000s. Like, it's not always going to work out that way. And guys that are not worth the money aren't worth the money for a reason. And they're not going to be as consistent going forward. I don't think that I'm not worried about the move the Mets made at all. I think that this is just like a question just to grind my gears, and I'm not going to let it. Like I'm cool with it.
No,
I'll grind his gears.
Yeah, I want to tell you why I'm feeling this way.
I like the deal personally. I like the deal for the Guardians just because I get it. Lindor's such a great fielder, and but he hasn't replicated his bat that he had in Cleveland. He hasn't even been an All-Star since his years in Cleveland. And
he was an All-Star this year. He was an All-Star this year.
He was an All-Star this year. That's not what I'm seeing on Baseball Reference. I could be incorrect.
Real
I'm not
quick
seeing that
while
on
you're
Baseball
looking it
Reference
up,
right now. But regardless, I don't know, man. I think last year, like if we're gonna talk about Lindor being a guy that's gonna do it every year, I mean, his last year in Cleveland he hit 258. His last year in 2021 with the Mets, his first year he hit 230. This year he's bounced
doing
back a
this
little bit.
year?
He's hitting 272.
Yeah.
He's hitting
Yeah, what is
272 this year, but regardless, it's not like he's had 2 straight down years and one good bounce back year. I mean, I like the deal for the money aspect of it. They're paying Lindor a ton of money. These other guys are making $5 million between the two of them. That gives them a lot of roster flexibility to go out and sign people as a small market franchise. So, I mean, I like the deal for both sides, but for Cleveland, I just don't think it made sense for them to hold on Lindor. I think that they made an absolutely amazing deal for them.
For
the organization.
And that's kind of my take on it. Is I think both teams made a good deal. Like I don't really see a loser in this deal. I mean, I know the Mets got Cookie Carrasco, who's kind of been on and off, and I don't even really care about that end of the deal. But if you look at Lindor's numbers, they're pretty good this year. So is Jimenez, though. Jimenez has really good numbers this year as well. He's still really young and he's athletic. He plays multiple positions. Rosario's having a good season too. I don't think his defense is anywhere close to Lindor or Jimenez, but I don't know. I'm looking at this trade and
neither is his bat.
Well, if you got
to look at how
the
shortstops,
overall, right?
Yeah, you got to look at how shortstops hit, not players in general, right? Like I think that's the only fair way. But sorry,
I do think Lindor was a little bit of an overpay. I get he's like the best defensive shortstop. His bat, like Austin was saying, hasn't been replicated, and I just think if look at what the Mets possibly had in Andres Jimenez, maybe it's still too early to tell, but I think he's going to be better than he is this year. And he's having a great year. He's having a really good year. He's batting over 300 right now. Yeah, his OPS is 856. His OBP is 375. He's having a great year. I mean, he's got 17 home runs. Lindor's going to beat him in home runs and RBIs right now. But you have to look in the future. Could the Mets have not traded for Lindor, kept Jimenez, and then
signed somebody else,
Rosario, and signed a couple other players, not just one player? They could have signed a couple people, like maybe another, back of the end rotation guy or some bullpen, which they really need. They could have spread that money around a little bit, and not that it matters because Steve Cohen can just do whatever he wants. But that was my little question for you. That I just
want to put it out there. Lindor did not make the All-Star team this year.
No, he did not. Yeah, he did not. He should have. He should have though. He should have though. There was like 5 Mets on the that made the All-Star team, and everyone
first half of the season, he was only hitting 240.
That's fair.
He has heated up. He's heated up.
That's fair.
But unfortunately, he put the All-Star game at the mid-season, which I don't agree with.
But so he's gonna probably have the highest WAR, or actually 2018 he had 7.2. He's going to have the second highest WAR that he's had in his career this year, and I think that's probably from a defensive and batting standpoint. So like that's probably contributed from both sides of the field. I'm not really worried about the deal at all. I think you got to make that deal if you're the Mets and not worry about maybe landing a guy randomly in the future that just happens to be good. It's going to be the same thing that happens with him. Like you guys are saying, like, oh, Jimenez is having a great year. Like, all right, so maybe they trade him to a big market team, right? And the same thing happens and the cycle repeats. Like it's not.
Which in Cleveland, that's a high possibility.
Exactly. Yeah, so it's not like it's not going to happen again with these future guys. Like they're going to cool off. Like it's going to happen. Michael Harris isn't going to stay just like the hottest hitter in baseball, right? For the entirety of his career, most likely he might, but he's going to get paid like that.
Let's not disrespect my guy. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean, I guess if you're going to say like, is it a good trade or not? You have to think in the hypotheticals of if they had that money to sign and these guys played as good as they're playing in Cleveland with the Mets, who could they sign with that money to stack on top of these two guys? That's how you could say they win it. But we can't hypothetically. We can't predict that. But imagine if they had these two guys playing this good and now they have this money they're paying on Lindor and they put that towards a guy like Trey Turner.
But they don't care. But they don't care about them. But that's the thing about baseball. There's no cap. So it doesn't matter like what they spent on Lindor, right?
But not a lot of teams have not a lot of teams have 2-3 guys that are making $300 million. I maybe the Dodgers. I can't think of any other teams that have that.
I know. But that's like why it's the Mets, the Yankees, the Dodgers are the big market. Like those are the teams that are spending the money. So if that's the case, that's the case. But the Wilpons would have never done that. Like, so I'd rather have the guy that's going to pull that trigger. So I don't know.
Yeah.
My take on it.
All right. We'll move on. I just wanted to kind of get your 2 cents in that. Are you guys good with the Central? You have anything else going on with that?
No, I think that's it, Joey. How about we move on to the your favorite division, the AL East?
Yes. I'll make this quick, but the Yankees are looking better for sure. They're kind of looking like they were in the beginning of the year. They're coming back from a deficit. They're winning games again. It's fun to watch. Judge is still chasing 62. He's at 60 right now. Thank God he didn't hit it on Apple TV, and we can get into that way later on in the offseason. But I can't stand that whole Apple TV deal. That broadcast just, it's insanity. But
I have stuff that I won't say on the podcast about that.
Yeah, we'll go over it later off it. But Yankees are up 8.5 games. They have 3 games against Toronto, 3 against Baltimore, and 3 against the Rangers. They clinched the playoffs. I don't see them giving up the division. Like, I think they can right now, the way they're playing, they can definitely take the series on Toronto. They can definitely take it on Baltimore. And if you don't take it against the Rangers, then you're not a good team. So unless they just clinch and they punt it, but I don't see them not taking the division. What I am worried about, though, is Garrett Cole has looked, I don't know if it's just a Boston thing. Like, he just gets absolutely shellacked every time he faces Boston, but he has not been as expected this season.
I think it's a bit of a Boston thing.
I mean, Boston's definitely killing him. He's given up. I looked, the stat came up the other day. He's given up the most home runs out of any AL pitcher. The only pitcher to give up more home runs is Josiah Gray over on the Nationals.
Yeah, that's not good company. I thought the crazy thing is I thought Josiah Gray was going to be good when he got traded over from the Dodgers too. I was very wrong.
If he doesn't give up
the theme of this podcast today is I've been really wrong about a lot of things today.
Yeah.
So
the
Dodgers know, bro.
Boston's wrong.
But that's also smart. That's why the Dodgers are so incredible, is because they have that big market, but they're also like,
they're doing
them
it
and the
right.
Braves are the smartest organizations in
and
baseball.
they develop talent too.
And they develop talent. Exactly. So they know that they know that a guy like when they trade him like that is not going to go over and be like an all-star somewhere else. The Mets have that problem. They don't do that. They trade guys that are going to be studs.
Right? Yeah.
Speaking of developing talent, Cabrera looks like he's playing pretty well for your Yankees.
He is. I'm loving that. It looks like he's adjusting to major league hitting. He's playing wherever they put him. He's played first base, second base, shortstop. I think he's played third base too, and he's playing left and right field. I'd rather see him over Hicks any day of the week right now. Even with the inexperience in left field, like, I'd still rather see him over Hicks. So he's playing really good. I hope he cracks the roster for sure. But the Yankees have some moves coming up that they're going to have to make, because right now they have a closer problem. They can't use Chapman. They can't use Clay Holmes. So they asked Boone about it the other day, and I kind of liked his answer, because right now, if you're looking at their closer, you have to think, okay, it's either Trevino, Efros, or Loaisiga. And Boone was just saying that they're going to do a mixture. They're going to do it based on matchups, which I think is really the only thing you can do at this point, since they don't have someone that they can trust 100%. You kind of just have to go with what's the best matchup.
I'd go with Loaisiga. I think he's the best guy in their whole pen.
Yeah, he still hasn't been what he was last year, though.
Yeah, he was about as good as he gets last year. I don't know. I like him. I like his stuff. I think he's got the best stuff in that pen. Clay Holmes was so good at the start of the year. I don't know what the hell happened. I don't know what happened with him. He just fell off of a building.
Yeah,
a burning pit.
I will say this: I like Trevino a lot. I don't think he's the answer, but like I said, if they have like a matchup where they think Trevino is a better matchup, I'd use him. But I actually do like Efros. He came back, pitched his first. He closed in his first game. I think it was last night or night before, something like that. And he looked good. He got in a little bit of a jam, but I really like his stuff. Like, I think he could be a closer for them. I think they just need to kind of work him in a little bit more throughout the remaining of the season.
Yeah, and they had Trevino too. Trevino was closing a little bit in Oakland, but
right.
I mean, I'm looking at his last 7 games right now. He's almost got a 6 ERA.
It's not right. They have a bullpen problem right now for sure.
Yeah.
And then the last thing on the Yankees, Harrison Bader is here, and I think most Yankee fans, including me, were like, what the hell was this deal? We traded for a guy in a walking boot who might not even play this year, for Jordan Montgomery, who is a solid back the rotation guy. And Montgomery was looking good. He struggled, I think, his last 2 outings in St. Louis. But Harrison Bader, he came in hot. You guys see what he's doing right now?
Oh, yeah, he's hitting the ball. He's playing good defense.
He's playing really good. I mean, watching him in center field, he's arguably the best center fielder. I never watched him too much before he came to the Yankees, but he plays a really good center field. He's fast, and then he's hitting with runners in scoring position, which is my favorite stat. So
he's cut from that Cardinals cloth. Good defense,
he's
good situational baseball. He's a good player.
Yeah, I'm starting to like this deal a little bit more. Obviously, I'm not going to say who won or lost it because it's too soon.
I mean,
but
Well, Montgomery's coming back to ordinary. He was never going to be a 1.8 ERA guy. He's coming back. So. He's coming back to his mean right now.
Let me take you down a notch, Joey. Harrison Bader has had 17 plate appearances for the Yankees. So let's relax.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying I like what he has so far. It's the only sample I have. He hasn't played all year. So
no, I get that, but we have a great sample of Jordan Montgomery just playing great since that trade. And you guys need starting pitch. You guys need any pitching right now.
You guys need a lefty. You guys need a good lefty starting pitcher in particular.
Well, the answer is Nestor Cortez. That's the answer. I think the Yankees need to trust him, but we'll see what they end up doing. I mean, Cole's obviously going to be the number one guy. I don't like what I'm seeing from him right now. That contract is starting to look like an overpay, and I think he'll round the form. I think he'll be the number one again. I just don't like what he is this season.
So I mean, they're not letting pitchers use spider tack, right? In the playoffs.
That's the thing.
Is that
the thing? Cole is fucked.
That's the thing. Let's not act like every other pitcher wasn't doing it. All right, let's not.
I don't know. All I know is that he was doing it. I don't know who was or wasn't doing it, but I know he was for sure.
Anyway, I still like them in the East. I think they can end up in the CS. They'd have to play the Guardians or the Mariners, and I think they could beat both teams. I really do. Seattle would be tough for them based on the pitching, but I think that they can be in there.
And like, I just want to say real quick, like we spoke a little bit about how Judge hasn't broken that home run record, right? But like, aside from that, like their team, their lineup, I was looking at their stats, like besides Judge, like their lineup is atrocious. Like so freaking bad.
Okay, it's because of that punted August month. But if you look lately, like Gleyber Torres has been hitting, Josh Donaldson is getting hot.
Oh yeah,
Cabrera's hitting.
Some of their guys can get hot.
Better, yeah.
Some of their guys can get hot on during random weeks, random series, right? But like I'm talking about like seasonal like stats, right? Like their guys like are just not doing it right now. So I'm a little worried about that. But that also, I just pointing back to our MVP conversation, that was another reason like we talked about like why me and Joey felt so strongly about Judge for MVP, because like this is not a playoff team. We mentioned it during that segment. This is not a playoff team without Judge, which is crazy. One batter makes all the difference. But that scares me for them. The reason I bring that up is that scares me for them for the playoffs.
And let me put Yankees fans at ease real quick. Yeah, let me put Yankees fans at ease real quick. Rizzo's back. He's already hitting. Josh Donaldson hasn't been hot all year. Now he's getting hot. Like you have to think what he could be. Gleyber Torres is finally starting to look like his old self. Judge is still being Judge. Like it's funny because people are getting like disappointed when Judge hits 2 doubles in a game right now because they just want to see the home run. But I think everyone's getting hot at the right time.
Gets walked half the time right now.
Yeah, and it just. But I think everyone's getting hot at the right time. So I think it's a good time. I think they're better than what their August was.
I don't know. I'll ruffle some Yankees feathers instead of putting I just think in the playoffs, historically, consistency is played.
Yeah.
Historically, the most consistent team throughout the year has been the one that's been successful in the playoffs, and the Yankees have been arguably the most inconsistent plus 256 run differential team I've ever seen in my life. They can either blow you out. They can either blow you out by 15, or they lose like a 3-1 ball game where they made 3 errors and they didn't hit for shit. And it's just, I don't understand the New York Yankees this year. I don't get it. I mean, they're absolutely in the run differential category, just mopping everybody else in the league, but they don't impress me. They really don't. I don't say that as a Red Sox fan just because I don't like the Yankees. I truly just, there's something about the Yankees this year that if they don't have Judge, I think you can pitch around them in the playoffs, and I think that they're in some trouble. So
yeah, and I think Stanton's going to be a big part of that. Like he's got to get. Yeah. I mean, he's been getting better well in this Red Sox series, but he has to get like to his old self if they want to be anything in the playoffs. Yeah.
I think real quick on that, my last take is that if they want to go deep in the playoffs, I think it's actually like those young guys, the Oswaldo Cabreras, like you mentioned, Harrison Bader, like some of those guys that are like a little newer to the lineup. If they can stay hot, that's the only way that they're gonna even have a chance, a fighting chance in the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm not worried. I think they're gonna be fine. I think they're all gonna get into that playoff mode. We all know the playoffs, they're a crapshoot, whatever. Pitching is elite in the playoffs. So I think they're gonna round a form and be what they can be. We'll see. Time will tell. That's all I got. Yeah. What else you got with the AL? Anything else?
No, I just think the AL is the Astros this year.
That's my opinion. I mean, that's kind of what it's looking like. The Astros are they're just really good this year.
I hope not, man. I hope not.
I know. I really.
I was asked this question. And I guess it's not really a fair question, but I thought it was an interesting way maybe to end the podcast here. someone asked me if I walked into a bar and Trevor Bauer, Giancarlo Stanton, and Bryce Harper were in the bar, who do I buy a beer for? I want to know Austin's. I know obviously for Joey it's Stanton. I want to know Austin's take on that. I don't know. Maybe it's a weird question.
I mean, you got to take into account that you got to take into account I grew up in Vegas, so Bryce Harper is kind of the Vegas guy.
Yeah. That's right.
But I think Trevor Bauer is a super interesting dude, and I think he's getting absolutely shafted by the MLB right now. He really is. I mean, I think he is.
So you would go Bauer over Stanton.
No, I would go Harper over all of them.
I forgot about that.
And you know, we can end the podcast. This will be my last point. It's imagine this. The year's 2015. You and a group of friends dress up as the Sandlot Boys, and you go to a random house in McDonald Highlands, Las Vegas. You knock a door. The guy who answers it is Bryce Harper. I'm that guy. I was dressed up as Benny the Jet Rodriguez with all my friends. We knocked the door. Bryce Harper answers the door, gives us all candy. We even had a Wendy Peppercorn with us, and he tweeted us out.
This is real?
Wow.
This is real. This is real. He tweeted out, the coolest group of kids just came by my house dressed up as the Sandlot Boys. They even had a Wendy Peppercorn.
Wow, so Bryce Harper and Austin are future friends.
We're basically best friends.
Yeah,
so
obviously.
Yeah, I would reminisce with Harper. I would buy him a drink. Great.
I walked out of the bar. I can't stand Harper. But you know, obviously that goes without saying.
He's our Vegas guy. We like Harper. So
yeah. I didn't realize that he was from Vegas.
He's folklore here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he hit about a 570-foot home run at Las Vegas High School. It's like one of the most iconic home runs of all time. So
yeah, I mean, he's probably the best player you'll ever see come out of the state. So for a while at least.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's all I got. We'll close it out with that. So next week we'll be back. I know this was a shorter episode. It's, you know, not really too much going on. It's just kind of divisions locking up right now. So next week we should have, we might be not officially, but next week we should have like the teams that are going to be in the playoffs and what the exact matchups are going to be. So we'll come back, talk about that next Monday.
It's going to be a long one next week.
That Braves Mets series is going to be just that big. It's going to be wild. Definitely stay locked into that.
Yep.
All right, guys. See you next week.
All right, fellas. Peace.